The Etruscans actually ruled Rome for about 100 years. 7 different Etruscan kings built up Rome from a small farming village into a powerful city state. The last Etruscan king, Lucius Tarunius Superbus, or Tarquin the Proud, his greatest accomplishment was building the massive Temple of Jupiter in Rome. But the Romans would get tired of being ruled by outsiders. How did the Romans get rid of their Etruscan kings? The story goes something like this. One day, 2 Etruscan princes visited the famous oracle at Delphi in Greece. An oracle is like a fortune teller. A Roman named Lucius Junius Brutus traveled with them. At Delphi, the princes asked the oracle which one of them would become the next king of Rome. The oracle answered, "The next man to have authority in Rome will be the man who first kisses his mother." Hearing this prediction, Brutus pretended to trip and fall. He fell on his face and his lips touched the earth, which is often considered the mother of all things. Back in Rome, Brutus led the revolt that eliminated the Etruscan kings. The oracle's mysterious words came true, to some degree, because Brutus became one of the first leaders of the new republic. The Roman people were now free to govern themselves. Roman society was divided into 2 main social groups. The first were the patricians. These were the most wealthy and powerful Romans. Usually they were landowners who could trace their lineage back to the founding of Rome. The word patrician comes from the Latin word pater, which means father. This is similar to the concept we have in the United States when we discuss the founding fathers of our country. Only patricians could be priests, government officials, and any other high-ranking position. Everyone else in Rome was considered a plebeian. The word pleb means common people, and it's not the same thing as a peasant. Romans of various different levels of wealth could be plebeians, and they made up about 95% of the Roman population. The government that the Romans designed for themselves was called a republic. In a republic, elected representatives rule. In Rome, this was a governing body called the Senate. In the Senate, 300 patricians shared power. They came up with the laws for Rome and made sure the city ran smoothly. The Senate also chose the consuls. Consuls were leaders of the Senate, and 2 were picked each year that were expected to share power. This was supposed to keep too much power from falling into the hands of any one person. The plebeians of Rome, 95% of the people, had no say in what happened in the Senate. Eventually, the plebeians grew frustrated with this form of government because they had no say in what happened to them. Only the patricians knew all of the laws, and they could easily change laws to favor themselves if there was ever a dispute between a patrician and a plebeian. On top of that, when it came to the military, officers were always drawn from the patrician class, while soldiers were plebeians. This meant that, just like in everyday life, the plebeians had no say in what happened. They were the ones doing all the fighting and dying, while the patricians were the ones benefiting most. This began to change in 494 BCE during an event called the Conflict of Orders. The plebeians marched out of Rome and refused to come back until they gained some political power. With the city all but shut down, the patricians were forced to compromise and give some rights and powers to everyday plebeians. The patricians agreed to let plebeians elect tribunes. These were special officials representing plebeians. These tribunes, while not as powerful as senators, were still able to advocate for plebeians, propose laws, and convene their own assemblies. A council of plebs was also created that allowed plebs to make rules that applied to other plebeians, but not to patricians. The most important power, though, was the veto. Veto means I forbid in Latin, meaning the tribunes could strike down a law proposed by the Senate if they thought it would be detrimental to Rome. Over time, more and more power was given to the plebeians. In 451 BCE, plebeians demanded that laws be written down. Prior to this, only the patricians knew all of the laws of Rome. In 367 BCE, a new rule stated that one of the 2 consuls elected every year must be a plebeian. Once someone was a consul, they were eligible to become a senator, opening up the Senate to the plebeians. Then, in 287 BCE, the Citizens Association was created and allowed to approve and reject laws created by the Senate. So, after many years, the Roman Republic became much more representative of the Roman people. The 12 Tables of Roman Law was created in the year 451 BCE. It described rules about all aspects of life, from marriage to business, as well as property laws and courtroom procedures. It allowed judges, called magistrates, to give similar punishments for similar crimes. Before the 12 Tables, judges might hand down wildly different punishments for the same crimes. According to the 12 Tables, patricians, plebeians, women, and enslaved people were not treated the same, so this was not actual equality. Plus, only about 20% of the Roman population could read and write, so not everyone even could read it. But historians generally agree that creating a written set of laws was a big step in the right direction for the Roman Republic. The Roman Republic still influences us today. Many of the key elements of the democratic republic we have in the United States today are based on the government created in ancient Rome. For example, we have elected assemblies, governing bodies that create laws for everyone. This includes our own Senate, named after the one in Rome, but also the House of Representatives, as well as state legislatures and city councils all over the country. We have a written constitution, a set of laws and rules available to everyone. We have checks and balances, powers given to multiple groups of people who all work together for the good of the people and to keep any one person from gaining too much power. Finally, our citizens have privileges as well as responsibilities, meaning there are distinct advantages to American citizenship, but there are also duties that come with those advantages. All of this and more come down to us from the Roman Republic.